Hi, folks. Welcome to Ridgely Scholars Facial Artery Pathway. Today's topic is very interesting. It's called facial artery pathway. And today we are exploring the facial artery, one of the most clinically significant vessels in head and neck and anatomy from its origin to its terminal branches. Understanding this tortuous pathway is essential for surgical safety and dental practice. Let's dive in. The facial artery is a branch of the external carotid artery. It typically arises in the carotid triangle just above the lingual artery. In fact, these two vessels sometimes share a common trunk called the linguofacial trunk, present in about 20% of individuals. From its origin, the facial artery ascends deep to the posterior belly of the digastric and the stylohyoid muscles. It then passes beneath the submandibular gland, creating a groove on its deep surface. This relationship is crucial. The gland lies superficial to the artery at this point. The artery then curves around the lower border of the mandible immediately anterior to the masseter muscle. This is a key landmark. You can actually palpate the facial artery pulse at this exact location where it crosses the mandibular border at the anterior edge of the masseter. After crossing the mandible, the artery enters the face proper and begins its tortuous ascent towards the medial canthus of the eye. Before the facial artery reaches the face, it gives off important cervical branches. Let's identify these. First, the ascending palatine artery arises near the origin. It ascends along the pharynx, supplying the soft palate, palatine tonsil, and pharyngeal wall. This branch is clinically relevant during tonsillectomy procedures. Second, the tonsillar branch supplies the palatine tonsil and forms anastomosis with the ascending palatine artery. Third, the submandibular artery is the largest cervical branch. It arises as the facial artery hooks around the submandibular gland. The submandibular artery runs forward on the mylohyoid muscles beneath the mandible, supplying the submandibular gland, mylohyoid, anterior belly of digastric, and the skin of the chin. It anastomoses with the sublingual artery and mental branches. Finally, glandular branches supply the submandibular gland directly. These cervical branches establish rich anastomotic networks, which is why bleeding control in this region can be challenging during surgery. Once the facial artery crosses the mandible, it's nothing but a facial branches. It enters the face and gives off several important branches as it ascends. The inferior labial artery branches near the angle of the mouth, running beneath the depressor angular oris muscle. It supplies the lower lip, anastomosing with its contralateral partner and the mental artery. This anastomotic circle ensures excellent blood supply to the lower lip. The superior labial artery arises near the upper lip, running beneath the levator anguli oris. It supplies the upper lip, forming another anastomotic circle with its fellow from the opposite side. Importantly, it gives off the septal branch that supplies the nasal septum. This is why upper lip injuries can bleed profusely. The lateral nasal branch supplies the ala and the dorsum of the nose. This branch is relevant in rhinoplasty and nasal reconstruction procedures. As the facial artery continues upward, it travels along the side of the nose, lateral to the nasal or alar cartilage. Its course is extremely tortuous. This tortuosity accommodates facial movement during expression, mastication, and speech. Without this redundancy, the artery would be stretched and potentially damaged during normal facial motion. Let us understand the terminal branch. The facial artery terminates as the angular artery at the medial canthus of the eye. The angular artery ascends along the side of the nose, reaching the medial angle of the orbit. At this terminal point, it forms a crucial anastomosis with the dorsal nasal branch of the ophthalmic artery, which is a branch of the internal carotid system. This connection represents an important link between the external and internal carotid arterial system. This anastomosis has clinical implications. It provides collateral circulation but can also serve as a pathway for infection to spread from the face to the cavernous sinus, the dangerous area of the face concept you have likely heard about. The angular artery supplies the lacrimal sac, lower eyelid, and adjacent facial structure. Let us contemplate the clinical significance. The facial artery's clinical relevance cannot be overstated. Let's highlight key points in maxillofacial surgery and dentistry. The facial artery's location in the mandibular border must be identified to avoid hemorrhage during procedures. Submandibular gland excision requires careful ligation of the facial artery to prevent bleeding. The artery's tortuosity protects it during facial movements, but facial laceration can cause significant bleeding due to rich anastomotic network. The dangerous areas of the face, the triangle from the nose to the upper lip, can allow facial infections to spread intracranially via the angular artery anastomosis with the ophthalmic system. In reconstructive surgery, the facial artery serves as a vascular pedicle for various flaps, including the facial artery musculomucosal flap used in oral reconstruction. Aesthetic practitioners must understand this anatomy for safe filler injections, as inadvertent intra-arterial injection can cause tissue necrosis or even blindness. That's a facial artery pathway from external carotid region to angular terminus. Torches clinical significant and essential knowledge for safe practice. This is Rich Scholar beyond just books. Keep learning, keep growing. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you in the next video.